Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that I'm currently seated on the land of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. I know that many of you are on the land of other nations, so please feel free to write those nation names in the chat. Always let us remember our connection to our siblings in these nations and work and pray for the day in which we might be together in right relationship. So welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome here. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own home, but please bring who you are in with you to this community today. And all of goodwill are welcome. So now we'll come together for our opening song.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
And now for some announcements. Next Friday, July 17th, from 6 to 10 p.m., there will be an annual Chariot Festival in Langley, which is organized by the Sri Jagannath Cultural Society and the Vedic Sevak Charitable Society. So this will take place at 19803 86th Avenue and will include a traditional chariot street procession, live cultural performances, a festive food stall, spiritual gatherings, and more. So I'll put the advertisement for that in the chat, and you can also find it in our newsletter. And then I just wanted to reiterate that for those of you who have been interested in our Circle of Sanctuary, which typically happens on alternate Saturdays to our services, that's on hold for the summer. So we won't be doing that for the next for July and August, but we'll be starting that back up again in September. And then we have an upcoming event called Contemplating the Miraculous and the Ordinary, which will be an in-person gathering at the Center for Peace. And that's going to be on Saturday, August 29th. I'm still figuring out what we're going to do for that, but it'll be a time to come together for silent meditation and reflection and contemplation. So I invite you all to that as well. And then stay tuned for more exciting events and activities starting up in the fall. Dorley and I are meeting soon to plan some of those, so we're excited to share those with you soon. Does anybody else have any announcements they'd like to share? Okay, if not, then we'll come together for our opening prayer. This is the Karaniya Metta Sutta, which is the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection that is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. And now for a candle lighting prayer. This is a Buddhist poem called Eternal Inner Light by Adelson Pinto. This is an eternal challenge to keep us sure that when the day comes with its problems, we will find inside us a region full of peace, a mind state only experienced by the sages. Yes, this is the eternal challenge, to drink from this abundant resource, from this fountain, and go smiling at life, at its ferocious teeth, as somebody who plays with a tiger as he was a cat. To be like the Buddha was, the enlightened one, to walk with deep serenity, to face everything with humility, courage, self-determination, and peace. This is an eternal challenge to keep us sure that we won't die thirsty, the water will come, that we won't die devoured, the inner light will save us. Now, please feel free to unmute yourselves and offer each other a sign of peace. Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace,
Peace,
everyone.
everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
Everybody.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Namaste and Alapa.
And now we'll come together for another song.
Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme
Thank you, Bruce and Charlotte. It was beautiful. Now I'll invite you to join me in reading our joint affirmation. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek, and let it begin here. And now is the time we come together for some silent prayer and meditation. So I just invite you to find a comfortable seat. And roll your shoulders back a few times. Take some deep breaths with me in through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds and out through your mouth. And again in through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds and release it out through your mouth. And one more time in through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds and release it out through your mouth. And as you continue to breathe normally, I invite you to withdraw your senses from the room around you, from your thoughts, and to withdraw your attention and bring it back down into your heart. Today, Amy is going to be speaking to us about the heart practices. So I invite you, if you feel drawn, to place a hand on your heart, maybe rub it a little bit, see how that feels. See how your heart is feeling this morning. Is it tired? Is it sad? Is it warm? What people are you holding in your heart this morning? What situations? We're all connected to each other through our hearts. And so it's just one way to experience that wider sense of belonging. So from this place of connectedness and belonging, I invite you to pray silently for whatever's on your heart this morning. And then when they're ready, Bruce and Cheryl have another song for us.
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangam Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Puram Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Sangam Saranam Gacchami Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Sangam Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Sangam Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Sangam Saranam Because you're using the mouse, I had to do that.
Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. So now is the time where we invite you to participate in our community by donating. Many of you already do. You share your time and your joys and your struggles and often your money with us. But for those who are not familiar, I'll just drop our donation page in the chat, and all of the donations we receive go to funding this community and paying our interim managing director, Amy, who'll be speaking to us today, as well as our lovely musicians and our very relatively small overhead. So thank you so much for your support. And now we'll have another song.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
So it's my joy and honor to introduce today's speaker, my good friend, Amy Warhaft, who joined the Living Interfaith Sanctuary as our Interim Managing Director in September of last year. Amy grew up outside of Edmonton and was raised in the Jewish faith. For the last 8 years, Amy has studied Buddhism and practiced Insight Mediation or vipassanā. Having a love of history, Amy has studied ancient art, architecture, and religion, and she has a master's degree from the University of British Columbia in Greek and Roman Archaeology. So welcome, Amy. I'm so excited to hear what you have to share with us today.
No, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen, and now I have to move my windows. Here we go. Well, thank you very much for having me. This is really, really fun. This will be the first time I'm kind of talking about my practice, so yeah, I'm excited about it. I started practicing Buddhism about 8 years ago. I'd always had an interest in Buddhism and history, obviously, in general. So I think my first, one of the first introductions I had, I know William mentioned documentaries, and I love documentaries as well. And I watched the PBS documentary, The Buddha. Um, which is an amazing documentary. It's almost 3 hours, and it goes through the whole life of the Prince Siddhartha and his journey to becoming the Buddha. So, if anyone's interested in a very long history narrated by Richard Gere, it's actually on YouTube, which is wonderful. So, I definitely enjoyed it. Encourage you to watch it as well. And then I think the next thing was I had just randomly, bought a copy of the Dhammapada, which is sayings of the Buddha, and I found them very, very helpful. Just so simplistic, and easy to understand, which is one of the things I really love about Buddhism. And then and then I had a therapist who actually recommended the Calm app to me. So the Calm app is like a meditation app that helps teach you how to meditate, like an introduction to meditation. And in that, I there's a series on chronic pain, and I do suffer from chronic pain, and I found the series so helpful, and it really actually helped me reduce my pain. And the speaker was a person named Oren J. Sofer, and so I became very curious about Oren and his teaching. And so I started seeking out other resources he had. And he teaches through Spirit Rock Meditation Center in California. So that was kind of what got me started. It got me interested in Buddhism. And I remember him saying at the start, of when I started my practice that, eat every day that we practice, every day is a drip of water, that eventually will fill up a reservoir. And I definitely feel that way in my own practice. Um, so I'm going to start by just saying, like, asking for forgiveness if I make any mistakes or errors. I'm definitely not an expert. And like I said, this is my first time talking. So please forgive me if I make any errors. Um, so, um, so I'm going to be talking about the Brahmavihāras, or the heart practices. And I'm just going to give a little brief kind of history or introduction to what Vipassana or Insight Meditation is. So the Wikipedia says Vipassana movement refers to a modern branch of the Burmese Theravada Buddhism that promotes bare insight. And in the Theravada tradition, Vipassana is a practice that seeks insight into the true nature of reality, which is defined as anicca, impermanence, dukkha, suffering and unsatisfactoriness, and anitta, non-self. So these are what they say are the three marks of existence. Um, and so Vipassana, so what is the difference between Vipassana and other types of meditation, like Zen meditation? So Vipassana is really highly analytical, insight meditation that actually tries to observe and label our thoughts or sensations to kind of help us understand reality. Whereas Zen follows the Mahayana practice that emphasizes kind of just sitting and experience the moment without any mental labeling or anything like that. So you're just sitting there and just counting your breath often. I think they often will, just count 1 to 10 and then back down and keep doing that over again. So an example of this is like a teacher could say, "What is the purpose of eating breakfast?" So in Vipassana, a person might say the purpose is to have energy for the day. Versus, somebody in the Zen tradition might just say the purpose is eating breakfast, or the purpose of eating breakfast is to eat breakfast. So just a slight difference. And when they talk about observing and labeling thoughts, now the important thing is with this is when you're meditating, you're not getting engaged in your thoughts. You're not um you're not thinking, oh, I have to go to the grocery store and I have to buy, all these things. Like your mind might go, oh, I have to go to the grocery store. But and what you would do with labeling is you're going to notice that you're thinking and you're just going to be like thinking, thinking, thinking. Or if your hand's tingling, you might be like, tingling, tingling, that kind of thing. So it's more like observing what's going on in your brain. And I find this, it's almost like you're outside of it and like a third party watching your own brain. And I find it quite comforting because sometimes my brain can be really noisy. And one of the things I always thought about meditation was that you had to have a clear mind. And I was like, how is that possible? And so I really enjoyed my teacher saying that you don't have to have a clear mind. You don't have to have a still mind. It's more like you're sitting there and being like, wow, my mind's really turbulent and look what it's doing. Or maybe it's calm and maybe you happen to be at peace that day. So that's what the labeling is referring to. So insight meditation is kind of like a modern interpretation of Buddhism. Um, it traces its lineage actually to the early 20th century when there was monks, reform-oriented monks in Burma or Myanmar and Thailand. Um, who the colonialism was happening and Christianity was happening, and they really wanted to solidify Buddhism in the country and thought about bringing it to lay people as a way to do that. That was kind of how it was what it was born out of. And then there was a few people, and you can see on the top of the slide there, Jack Kornfeld, Sharon Salzberg, Joseph Goldstein, and Jacqueline Schwartz. They had gone over and learned from some teachers over in Burma and Thailand, and they came back to the U.S. and formed the Insight Meditation Society out in Massachusetts. And then that eventually came out to California, and they founded Spirit Rock Meditation Center. So lots of good resources from them. They're a really great center, and I enjoy practicing with them. So Vipassana, the practice is rooted in the Pali canon. So that's made up of monastic rules and disciplines and teachings and discourses attributed to the Buddha, and it tries to go back to like the original teachings and the original uh, uh, discourses and that the students of the Buddha had. And then Pali is actually a sacred Middle Indo-Aryan language, and the liturgical language of Theravada Buddhism. So and that's in there. Usually the terms are either in Pali or Sanskrit. So that's where you get the difference. Like in Pali, you would say Dhamma, and in Sanskrit, you would say Dharma. So any of pronunciations of my terms are going to follow the Pali tradition. So where was I at before I started my practice? So I think before my practice, I was clinging a lot and I was very resistant to any change. And for instance, if there was good times, I was always clinging to those good times and not wanting things to change and just hoping if I held on as tight as possible, nothing would change. And unfortunately, I found, if things were hard as well, that I would end up kind of clinging to that equally as hard and thinking that things would never change. And um, I just feel like I was fighting against life and just holding on so tight and resisting the natural kind of order of things. And I was also, engaging in a lot of comparison and, thinking about kind of outward facing. And I was struggling. It was definitely a struggle. And I think that was my favorite thing about starting my Buddhist practice was how central change is and learning to actually embrace the change and find that the good times might change, but then it also means the bad times might change as well. And so that was me before my practice. But then moving on to talking about the Brahmavihāras. So when I had started my practice, I started with just doing short, like listening to Dharma talks, maybe an hour at a time. And then slowly I did like a half day retreat. And then my very first longer retreat, which was 4 days, I was actually on the Brahmavihāras. So it was 4 days, full days sitting and meditating on these heart qualities. So the four heart qualities are metta, which is often translated as loving kindness or benevolence, karuna, which is compassion, mudita, which is empathetic or shared joy. I like using shared joy. Upekkha, which is equanimity or balance. And Gil Fronsdale wrote a really nice piece about the four Brahmaviharas, and in that he said that the myth is that Brahma, the god Brahma, had four faces, and each one of them championed four kinds of unselfish love. Um, and that was what the Brahmaviharas were born from. And so um, basically, I'll give an example of what each one of these are. So with metta, we might, see we can kind of try to imagine or cultivate these feelings by using this example. And so we might, see a puppy and you feel that, when you see a puppy having fun, you feel that feeling of goodwill and appreciativeness and friendliness towards the puppy or the cats that we have in our homes. Um, and then of course, karuna, compassion, if the puppy gets hurt, we're like, oh no, puppy, like, no, that I hope you're okay and I don't want you to suffer and I hope you're better. Um, and then mudita, which has turned into actually one of my favorite qualities. And I think one of the most transformative for me is just to be able to feel joy for others and for it not to have to be selfish or anything to do with me, but just to look at this puppy and have them, sometimes I'll be down on the seawall and there'll be a dog that's just like digging in the sand and you can just feel the joy that animal's feeling and that freedom. And then, of course, upekkha, the equanimity, the balance. I think that's almost the most important of the four qualities, because it would be really easy to get caught up in any of these. You don't want to like feel so much love that you lose yourself, or so much compassion that you're overwhelmed with suffering, or even so much joy that you become manic or something. So that's when the balance really comes in, just to remind you, to take that breath and just remember that, every one of these practices has to come with balance and our breath. Um, so how do you practice with these? Like what does it mean? Um, So it was quite, when I did the 4-day retreat, it was quite interesting and transformative for me. Because you're literally just like, we did a day for each one of the heart qualities. And so you're literally like sitting with each one of these qualities. And um for instance, metta, loving kindness, it's very natural. Like this love that we have, it's very natural and a part of our heart. But we don't necessarily cultivate it. We don't necessarily sit and really let that feeling grow. And so basically, if you when you meditate on these feelings, you're actually taking some time just to sit and and cultivate this feeling of love or compassion in your heart. And um, I think for me personally, I found it so enlightening and so freeing, because I was always told, you're too kind, you're too nice, you're too sensitive. You should have a harder heart. You should all of these I was very criticized for my loving heart my whole life. And I remember the first time just sitting down and doing a loving kindness meditation and realizing, that there are people out there who also believe in the power of love and the healing power of love, and um that we can just sit with it and let it fill our hearts and let that go out into the world. um so, for instance, when you start, usually the recommendation is that you start with someone easy. So they'll always say, you'll sit and you'll have your breaths and you get centered. It's important to feel your grounding, like we did with Rachel in the meditation at the beginning. You take some deep breaths, you center yourself, and then usually the person guiding the meditation might offer to think of someone who's really easy to love, or an object or a pet. And this, of course, is the easiest way to dip your toe into the practice. So, um, we can do that together right now. So maybe we'll just close our eyes and you can think of a person or a pet or even an object or a tree, um, that you just love, that's really easy to love. And you can form an image of that person or object in your mind. And you can just sit there and think of them and just wish them love and wish them all the best. And as you breathe with that, you can just feel the way your whole heart is warmed, and sometimes I'll even feel like that warmness spreading into the rest of my body, and maybe easing some of the tension in my forehead or my jaw, and just sit and just wish that person or that object or that tree just love and hope for the best for them. And as you do that, like I said, you can feel that feeling of love grow. hopefully. It depends how much work you need to do, I guess. But hopefully, if it's something easy, you'll be able to get that sensation of love. And so then you would sit with that for a while, until you feel good and comfortable and steady in the feeling. And then the next stage is to think of someone that's a little bit harder to love, someone that's a little bit more challenging, not too challenging, but just a little more challenging. And then again, you sit and you offer love to that person, and you offer the best and goodwill to them. And again, you just sit and allow that feeling to warm your heart. And then what's interesting is then like the next stage, of course, would be to someone who maybe is difficult to love. And I think I find this one the most interesting sometimes because, we all have people in our lives that maybe we want to love, but it's a little more difficult to love. And even if it is difficult, we do want to still love that person. And so I think it's quite interesting if you can sit and maybe notice some resistance. And if you did notice resistance, then you can kind of use that labeling and you can be like resistance. And I think during some of the retreats I've been on, when there is a question period, um, it comes up sometimes like kind of the feel like the questions of does this person, well, what if this person has hurt me? What if they've caused me some harm? And I think what's interesting with this heart practices and loving kindness practice is that it's almost like it's outside of that. It's outside of the harm that they've caused. And you can still offer love to that person separate from any harm, because we can hope that every living being, every object does deserve love, even if unfortunately they might cause harm to others. And then maybe you can think of a really challenging person after this. And personally, I found this like very freeing, because even somebody that um like for instance, a political figure or somebody who is really causing real harm, I find balance in myself, and it's almost like I'm healing my own heart by offering loving kindness or compassion to that person. And my hope is that when I cultivate those feelings and offer them out and just give that energy out to the world, that they might find redemption, and that love might find them and they might change their ways. You can hope. You can hope for that. So yeah, that's basically how you would work through it, and the compassion is the same. I actually really also enjoy the compassion practice. Um, I think each one of these qualities might be a bit more easy or accessible to us. I think loving kindness, it's like loving feeling is very natural to some people, and so it could be more easy to cultivate. One thing with compassion that's really interesting is that we often will have compassion for others easily, but maybe not as much for ourselves. So it's always really important to also offer these qualities to ourselves. And in one of the meditations I did, I remember my the teacher inviting us to offer compassion to ourselves and to think of somebody giving us that love and that compassion. And I remember kind of struggling with it a little bit, um, until he suggested, you could be a same thing as offering love. It could be a friend, it could be a pet. And then he said a historical figure, like the Dalai Lama or Martin Luther King Jr. And it was very interesting. I sat for the meditation period just thinking about Martin Luther King Jr. offering me compassion and love. And it seems almost hubris in a way, to think of such a amazing, loving, historical figure who really affected change. And you think, oh, I'm too small, or something like that, or undeserving. And it was really, really wonderful to just sit and be like, no, I also deserve this compassion that he might extend to others. And so yeah, I think it's really interesting to just sit with these qualities and offer them to ourselves and to others. Um, and like I said, it's been very healing for me to do this. And um, I think with so much strife in our world and so much there's just so many terrible things going on in our world today, and we have to care for our hearts in order to have the energy to be able to do the work we need to do to help others. And sitting and meditating and having these heart practices is a really great way to balance and restore our hearts and to just fill us up with love and compassion and joy and equality. Um, so yeah, how have I felt the change? I think, like I said, that first retreat I sat, where we just spent 4 days cultivating these qualities, I was able to find greater acceptance of myself and realize that, sometimes in our society, love and kindness is seen as a weakness. And I just felt so welcomed by the community, knowing that, this is actually a very beautiful quality to have and a sign of strength, to be able to offer these heart qualities to ourselves and to the world. So I think it's led to, a greater acceptance for myself, and then also the balance, just realizing to stop and take a breath and be like, okay, things, the world is really crazy right now, but I can come back and take a breath and offer love and just find that balance in order to have the strength to be able to face the problems that we have in our world today. Um, so that's basically what I was going to share. I'm not sure if I missed anything or if I made any mistakes. So again, like I said, please forgive me, and hopefully I was able to communicate some of that well. But there are some more resources if you have any interests. I have some things I cited in my presentation that I'd be happy to share with people if they wanted to dive further with some practice teachers. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amy. I really appreciate that. It's great to hear about your practice and how it's moved in your life and shaped your life. So Bruce and Cheryl are going to lead us in a final song, and I'll close this out with a prayer. And then anyone who's able to stick around after, Amy will hopefully be able to answer any questions that you have about her presentation today. So I'll turn it over to you, Bruce and Cheryl.
Gate, gate, paragate,
Please join me in our closing prayer. As we leave this gathering today, please help us remember to cultivate our hearts, to care for our hearts, to show ourselves and others loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, to experience shared joy with all beings, and to bring our hearts with us into the world that needs them so badly. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. May it be so.